Well, Outsiders fans need no introduction to Michael Shellenberger, the author of, among other books, Apocalypse Never, Why Environmental Alarmism Hurts Us All. Michael's been on the show many times before. He's written a superb article this week on Substack, where he's claiming that Europe's extreme energy and climate policies, the green policies, the net zero emissions, all of that rubbish, have led to the financing of Putin's invasion of the Ukraine, which has left much of the West totally reliant on Russian oil and gas. Michael Shellenberger, great to see you. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me. Great to be back.
Good to see you. So your article on Substack, talk us through your thesis about Putin's motivations and ability to invade Ukraine.
Well, sure. I mean, a little history is helpful here. 15 years ago, Putin and Russia produced less natural gas than Europe did. Today, Russia exports 3 times more natural gas than Europe produces. So it's just simple supply demand. Russia produces significantly more oil, gas, and coal than it consumes. Europe consumes significantly more oil, natural gas, and coal than it produces. That's in large part a measure to so-called climate activists who have fought against fracking and natural gas production around the world, including in Europe. People don't realize, but Europe actually has significant shale reserves, just like we have in the United States. They have decided not to tap them for their gas. And as a consequence, we're facing global recession. That's often what occurs when oil prices rise above $100 a barrel for a sustained period of time. They could be headed to $200 a barrel. President Biden is within his rights to reduce oil exports from the United States. If he does that, he'll strengthen the hand of Vladimir Putin even more, who will be able to sell oil to compliant governments who go along with his invasion of Ukraine. So that's how you get an economy like Russia's, which is smaller than that of the state of Texas, to basically exercise a stranglehold over global energy supplies and particularly over Europe, so that really there's no consequence of any significance or any lasting impact for his invasion of Ukraine.
Rita.
So what is the net benefit to the environment of these countries getting rid of their oil, gas and coal and instead importing it from Russia? Is that, we know it enriches Russia, but does it actually help the environment? Where is the net gain for emissions here?
Well, sure. I mean, the impact on the environment in terms of air pollution and on the climate from climate activists shutting down oil and gas production has been catastrophic. We've seen a significant increase in natural gas prices. That's resulted in a significant increase in coal, which has been in a long-term downward trend because of cheap natural gas replacing it. Natural gas replacing coal is the reason that U.S. carbon emissions declined 22%. Between 2005 and 2020. Natural gas is obviously much cleaner, half as many carbon emissions as coal. So the unintended consequence of the war on energy by climate activists has been to increase coal burning as well as to strengthen Putin's hand and control over Europe.
And we've seen countries like Germany actually close their nuclear power plants. So they've got rid of their own oil, gas, coal, and they've also got rid of nuclear. Like, how are they going to turn on the lights?
Yeah, Germany's struggling. It's, I will say, we did see finally the economy and climate minister, who comes from the Green Party, actually say that they are looking at keeping nuclear plants operating longer now in Germany. But yeah, I mean, the Germans, who claim to be the home of rationality, shut down 3 large-scale nuclear power plants, each of which could power at least 1 million German homes. They shut them down, 3 of them down last December, even in the midst, knowing that there was an energy crisis going on. And now they're planning on shutting down 3 more. So, but I do think it is having an impact. I mean, we saw even before Putin invaded Ukraine, both Japan and France make a recommitment to nuclear. I think it does have the possibility of delaying, if not stopping, Germany's final eradication of its nuclear plants, which obviously it needs to keep the lights on.
James. Michael, I want to ask you, what is behind Europe's shift into this green mentality? And, we were told for 5 years that Donald Trump would cause World War III. Now it looks like it's Greta Thunberg. What has been driving the way the Germans especially have gone down this road? Has Russia been corrupting their politicians? Have they been backing these environmental movements? What is behind all of this?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. I forgot to mention the fact. I mean, It's amazing. So the Secretary General of NATO in 2014 said that they had intelligence that Russians were funding anti-fracking operations, including climate activists fighting fracking. I actually looked at it when I was writing Apocalypse Never in 2019, and I thought, it's just such a detail, and there was so much other conflicts of interest I was discovering. But that was actually confirmed independently by a French researcher, and even Secretary of State at the time, Hillary Clinton, back in, I think, must have been 2015 or 2014, said that the Russians were funding anti-fracking advocacy. So, obviously there's huge financial interests all around. There's just been a desire by Europe to feel powerful and for Germany to feel like it was making up for what happened during World War II. I mean, it's as much a spiritual quest as it is a money grab, as far as I can tell. But I think what we're seeing with the impacts of fracking now quite dramatically, I think it has raised more interest in what role the Russians played in financing climate activists.
So, Michael, what's your advice for Australia? Obviously, we are arguably in a similar relationship to China, as much of Europe is to Russia for various reasons. We are in the process of pursuing net zero emissions and we banned nuclear, so we don't have that option. We're getting rid of coal. We have a billionaire running around trying to buy up coal-fired power stations in order purely to shut them down. And we're basing all our hope on something called green hydrogen. How sensible do you think Australia's Liberal Party policies are on this score, Michael?
I mean, look, the bottom line is that we're in the worst energy crisis since 1973. That crisis is fundamentally of inadequate supplies. Even Elon Musk today tweeted that we need to expand oil and gas production. There has been a conversation in Australia. I hope that the conversation sharpens in coming weeks. Australia, like a lot of other countries, needs to scale up nuclear power. Its energy exports are needed right now. Australia should be contributing to increasing global supplies since the markets are pretty global. I mean, people talk about, there was like a one day where the Russians couldn't sell their oil and then Shell came along and bought their oil. So, it is a global market. I think Australia should be expanding supply as much as it can and also building nuclear power plants so it can meet its air pollution and environmental regulations while also maintaining its status as a net energy exporter.
Michael Shellenberger, always great to talk to you, and I hope our leaders are listening to your sound advice. Michael Shellenberger, thanks so much, and people can read you on Substack, is that correct?
Yeah, that's a great place to go. Michael Shellenberger Substack, you can find my recent pieces.
Fantastic, Michael. Always great reading and always great to have you here on Outsiders. We'll speak again soon. Thanks so much.